GH3 is the one and only George Halcovage III, entering third year as University of Buffalo basketball head coach. What's up, coach?
How you doing, D Money? Great to be on with you, brother. Love being on Moneyball.
Doing great, man. It's always fun having you. I feel like we're old vets now. I met you a couple years ago. I think we clicked pretty quick, and you're easy to talk to. I love breaking down basketball with you, and I love to see the progression the team is making, and there's always excitement surrounding next season. So here we are, right? We're fast
Yeah.
approaching next season. We just had an exhibition with Syracuse. How do you feel now the first couple of years in Buffalo that you've got to settle in, and from the people, the neighbors, the love that they're showing and everything else? If you could sum up Buffalo in a couple of sentences and how you've been received in a couple of sentences, what would you say to me?
Buffalo is truly the city of good neighbors. You hear that before you get here, then you live it. Pretty quickly, you realize that that's pretty true to form. You know, Very proud place where people are proud to be Buffalonians. Just the overall people who take great pride in where they're from, but also take pride in the sports here. I think that's the thing, man, that really, you got the wings and all that, but obviously everybody loves wings here and talks about it, but people also are just incredible, passionate sports fans but fair, and always have your back. And that's been really cool.
I think I can appreciate the little of that a little bit more coming from a Villanova guy because it's not always so fair. I think that word at the end there, fair. Philly fans are kind of known for fair weather and not always being the most polite, right? And you were close enough, my man. So listen, it's we like to think in Buffalo that we do treat people fairly. It's funny to me, I'll mention something off topic. I had Jeremy White on the show. He's great at what he does, but even a better person. And it was right around the time he was in a little bit of hot water over his comments, and he had gotten into it with Bean a little bit with the receivers. I don't know, how much of that you remember. And I had him on the show right after, and we were talking about it. And he said, for as much hate as I get with that, and everybody was calling and giving me a hard time, for every negative call, there was a positive call. And I think this is there's very few markets, I think, that you'll get that, right? Where people don't really jump on the bandwagon, they tell you what they truly feel. And I think that's the difference with Buffalonians is they're not just going to say what the last guy said, whether it makes sense or not. Sometimes it's really stupid, but they're going to say how they feel, right? And that's it. So I'm really glad you're adapting to this community. I know people love you, man. I haven't heard anything negative. You're a pretty likable dude, and I will say that as far as the coaching element of things goes, man, I can see you putting 150% into every single thing you do. Right? I was watching this Syracuse
Thanks.
game. First of all, shout out to Bella Pizza. Had to do it. Sometimes I forget. Bella, place to go. Pizza and wings, Buffalo. It's where it's at. I watched your intensity when I was at the Syracuse game. I had the opportunity to be with the media and courtside for that. Kyan Anthony's first game, which was really cool to be part of. I kept watching GH3 here. I should have been, focusing maybe on Anthony because I love your intensity, man. Like, one of your guys makes a shot, right? I think it was early in the game, and I think Ezra hit a three early, and it put you guys maybe down by two or three, man. And I'm looking over at George, and he's jumping around like he might as well been a bench player, and chest bumping people, man. And I love it. I love the way you coach. I love that you become one of the guys on the team, and I think players respect that, right? There's always that fine line of respect versus whatever, and you can tell how much these players respect you.
Yeah, I think, you always have to have a feel as a coach of the right button to push, and so and there's moments where you need to be the guy that gets on guys and tells them the truth, right? Like you talked about a little bit with people going to speak their mind and you got to
Sure.
be honest with them because that's your job, right? And then sometimes you need to be a guy that shows them how invested you are with them and enthusiastic, especially when you know how hard you grind every day and then they go out and execute the things you're asking them to do. So, there's always a balance of that. And I just feel like the one thing that I want all of our guys to know is that I'm always here for them, off the court. The most important thing you could do as a leader is you make sure they know that you care way more about them as a person than you do as a player.
I love that.
And because to me that the relationship is really what's going to be the X factor when you're in the most difficult situations. And you're always building for that in every situation you're in. I don't want our guys to feel satisfied, but I also want them to feel like we're in this together. And if you model that way, if you show them that you're in it with them, then they are going to hopefully, catch on to that and understand that that's our mentality. And then they'll do that for each other. And, I think that's the constant. That's really my job as head coach, is to consistently set the tone every day for everybody, knowing that you're trying to get everybody who has a little bit of their own thing that going on, right? That's human nature. But
Absolutely.
how do we all make sure that we still come back to that we're a part of something bigger than ourselves, and that we know that that's going to be what really gets it done for us.
Coaching with Jay Wright and that team over there, was that something where you picked up a ton of the way they did things? Or was this something that you had always, kind of emphasized on your own? I guess so. How much of GH3 are we getting, and how much of that system were you able to pick up and bring with you here?
Yeah, I think being there for so long, for 15 years, I believe I inherently had some
Sure.
of these
Sure.
these built-in traits. That's why coach, as a young guy, gave me opportunities, and I think I was able to then do enough to show him he thought I was valuable and continue to grow, because of not only was I loyal, but I also believed in what we were doing every day. And I don't think you can, there's different ways to do it. Every place has different ways to do it. As long as you have consistency, and you're all in that together, and that there's an alignment with the head coach, with everybody in the organization, that gives you the best chance to build something
Yeah.
sustainable. We were lucky enough to do that at Villanova. So I think there's some uniqueness to me that's just going to be who I am. My fire, my intensity is probably unique to me. I'm who I am as a person every day. There's going to be uniquenesses to it, but I also was molded by a lot of the great things that I came up along with Coach Wright with, right? With the mentality of having a great attitude every day, that the things you can control are your attitude and your effort, and that it always comes back to being a part of something bigger than yourself, right? And then we put our own twist on it, right? We say we want to have an all in grit mentality. And that's kind of how I look at things, is to be all in with grit. But we came up with this new term this year with this team. You always kind of find things to resonate, and it's eat.
Okay.
We're all going to eat together, and it just stands for effort. Every day we got to bring great effort. We got to bring a great attitude. It's all about being together with the team. And that's how
Okay.
we're going to eat.
Dude, I,
Effort,
I love that. I love that.
attitude,
You know,
together, right?
you could
And
you
that
could
we're
say
going to do
almost
that,
like
man.
almost like a Bills thing, right? Where everybody eats, but that's not what it is at all. You guys actually have it as an acronym for something, and I absolutely love that, because when you first said it, I said, "Oh, that sounds familiar," but then to break it down and tell me what it stands for makes me feel
Well,
a whole lot,
I got to give the Bills credit. I love Coach McDermott, and I love everything they do there. And I know they haven't gotten to that final stage yet for everybody up here that's thirsty for it. I feel that, being a guy that was a diehard Eagles fan forever, and they finally broke through when they did. I believe the Bills are coming. I believe it's coming. And, it takes time, but the consistency they've had with Coach McDermott is just incredible. Incredible what they've been able to do. And I just want them to succeed. But that everybody eats mentality, I have to say that that sparked in my head. The
Sure.
Bills did spark for me the word eat when I heard it, because that's what they say and do. And then I was like, how can I use this within what we do to maybe connect to our team? And we came up with that, and now it's a whole mantra that our guys really like. And when we're out getting defensive stops in practice, they're all like, let's eat, we're eating. And
I'll tell you
and
what.
that's how you build it, man. And you gotta have a feel for your team, and that's part of this year's DNA, but it's going to be part of our DNA as long as I'm head coach, and I hope to be here a very long time.
I cannot wait for the tournament this year when I see you be there, and everybody's got their slogans on their shirt. And everybody know, right? It's going to be just EAT, bro. And everybody and all the announcers will be like, "Well, they got eat on their shirt. I don't know if these guys are hungry or what." And you know what? You should keep it a secret. You shouldn't tell anybody else other than this, my audience, whatever. And when you're in the tournament, man, we'll see eat on those shirts. It's going to be so cool, because that's the type of confidence I have, man. And I think with you behind the wheel, I think anything is possible. Let's talk a little basketball. Ezra had a great game, man. I was watching him. He was just the energy that I see there. I think he was 4 for 6 from 3 points. He had 18 points. Then one of the guys who really impressed me was Noah. I want to say it's Bachelor. Am I saying that correct? To be honest, he was
I know
very,
you were,
very, very recognizable on Saturday. I mean, the guy, you're going to see the guys that stand out. Obviously, watching Cuse, defensively, you guys did an excellent job on a few of their studs. And that's what I wanted to kind of bring to the table here. If we're going to talk just 2 minutes of basketball,
of course, yeah.
as far as what you guys did with JJ, I mean, he didn't have a lot of room to move. I think he was limited to 6 or 8, and he had a few dishes there, whatever. I was very impressed with the defense that I saw in that game.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
they got out hot early in both halves, and I think that was the difference in the game, right? But we battled. We cut it to 4 points
yeah,
with a minute and a half to go in the game, and gave ourselves a chance and got great looks. I think we turned them over, 17 times.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think, but they did a great job sharing the ball as well. Credit to them. I have such great respect for Red and everything they're doing there. Yeah, we wanna play overall great team defense. I think for them, and that's the beauty of having a good team. Hopefully we have that this year. I think we do. We had a lot of guys off the bench that really gave us great minutes and
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think can really help us throughout the course of the year and are gonna sometimes be the best player on the floor for us. And
Right.
when you have guys like Betsy for them and Anthony coming in the game and those guys really, I think they had 14 and 10 points combined, 24 points combined.
Yeah.
Those guys really, really helped them off the bench and played really well for them. So yeah, but we did an overall job. I think our second half defense was really good. I think we did a good job on the 3-point line, taking away their threes in the second half. And,
I
and we
agree.
want to pride ourselves on being a tough defensive minded team. At the end of the day, we talk to our guys about, we want to be prepared for the most difficult situations. Being able to have a game like going up against a Syracuse that early
Yeah.
is a good way to get prepared. But
The
also,
test, sure, sure.
if you really want to be
Exhibition or
playing
not,
your
man,
best,
everybody was
no,
everybody was playing like it was hard.
no, man, that felt like I've been in an NCAA tournament game twice in Buffalo, and that environment felt exactly like
Did
an
it really?
NCAA tournament game feels, which is awesome. I thought, it was amazing how all of our Buffalo fans and the community of Buffalo showed up and showed out for us, and Syracuse had a great following there and their fans, and it really felt like two schools with all their two
Yeah.
fan bases that are going against each other, which is really what the tournament feels like. So I thought it was a great tune up for the Key Bank Center and everybody in Buffalo to get ready for when the tournament's here in March, but it also for us, a lot of hard work goes into this, but if you're lucky enough to be able to make the tournament, that's what you want to feel like, right? And that game felt like that. So it was really awesome to be able to do that.
It really was a fun game, as someone sitting there watching too. I mean, it was, and I think most people had anticipated. I'll be honest with you, from the chirping I was hearing everywhere was this is going to be some blowout. I said, you watch, man. I said, you watch. And fortunately for me, I was proven right. So that worked out. How important is a fast start to the season?
It helps, right? It helps. Getting out to a fast start definitely helps your team's confidence. If you can get out and feel really good, you're gonna hopefully be playing better game in and game out, feeling like, all right, we can keep getting better. We can keep getting better. You always want to learn from wins more than you do from losses, right? So I think that's always, but there's a challenge that comes along with that. It's important for sure. In our case, with our league being, it's a very tough task to get a at-large bid right now in the mid-major levels. It just is, especially in the era of NIL,
You got to go
and
out and you got to go out and earn it with the team you have.
the new metrics that are in play with
Yep.
how they pick teams to go to the NCAA tournament are weighted much more, and it's harder, with the quad one games, quad two games. But we just put our weight in that our focus is going to be that we want to be playing our best basketball by the end of the year, and obviously you want to be playing better and really on all cylinders going into conference play, especially in a one bid league like the MAC. But so we don't put all of our weight in that. I think if we were in a league like we were at Villanova, your non-conference can really affect your NCAA tournament seeding more than coming out of a mid-major league right now in a
Yeah.
G5 league. It's just the reality of it. We're moving on to Southern Miss in our home opener on Monday here at Alumni Arena. Need everybody to come out and support us.
That's what
There's
I'm saying,
tickets
man. That's
available.
why that's
Go
what
on
we're doing right here.
uvbulls.com
Yep.
and get out there. We want to see all of our Buffalo fans out there to support us on Monday night. But Russ, we didn't talk about Southern Miss before we talked to, before the Syracuse game was over, because you got to be focused in the present moment and be focused and locked in on the game at hand. So that's the most important game right now is our next game.
Super cerebral, man. All of that. Thank you for that. Because that actually, that I didn't know a couple of those things that you had mentioned with the quad, and it makes a lot more sense when you explain it that way. I think we have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility with doing what I do to get out there and show the support. We can't have the only guys out there supporting are the diehard guys who have had seats for 30 years behind coach, right? There's my neighbor across the street, Connolly. This guy, he's a diehard. We need, people out there supporting. And this is D1. This is phenomenal basketball, man. And again, I'm going to do whatever I can on my end of things. We need this filled to the rafters, and you and I have been talking about this for a couple of years. I think with basketball in this town, winning will bring that. You know what I'm saying? I really do. We're going to support each other. We're going to support this team. We need to get out, show love to this team. And another thing I forgot to mention, I'll say it real quick, is I loved when the national anthem was going on, man, and all you guys were locked in arms. That was like, to me, man, I felt that. And I looked over at Cuse, and I'm nothing against them, man, but they weren't doing that. That means a lot. You guys, you have a brotherhood there. Those guys were locked in arms and they were like, ready to go to battle for each other. That really was touching to me. And I wish you an incredible season this year. I think a quick start is very important because I think it's going to build the team's confidence
Sure.
tremendously. You win those first couple of games and they say, "Oh God, we can do this, guys. We're a winning team." And that's what I'm hoping to see this year. I'm going to be in full support, man, and I wish you
Thank you.
nothing but the best, coach. You guys are gonna rock it this year, man.
We really appreciate it, man. We really do have such respect for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
It's incredible what you do for the entire Buffalo community and,
Thanks,
and
brother.
just to really get the word out there. Being and also like I said, you're fair, honest. It's really cool. It's
Thank
the
you.
perfect example of Buffalo sports and people's excitement for it is what you do every day with Moneyball. So I really appreciate it, D Money. Thank you.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail, guys. You hear? Thanks a lot, bro. Seriously, this was great. It always is
All right,
with
man.
you. And yeah, man, let's go. Horns up, right? Let's do this, baby.
Horns up, man. Horns up. Go
All right.
Bulls.
Have a good
All
one,
right,
man.
guys. See
We'll
you.
talk soon.
Bye.